Very cool.
Hello, Ponus.
Hi, guys. Hi, Ponus.
Says we have 4, so hello. Hello. So this.
Hi, Maria. Sorry.
That's okay. There she is. This week we have Lucifer associated with the death card. Hopefully, if my thing will focus here. And then the counterpart.
I'm Mumiah. Mumiah.
Which I think we decided last week I was going to kind of do away with just talking about the series relating to the goetic form or lesser keys. I'm going to include what I believe them to be and information about them. So explore kind of all areas of it. So just eating a salad after yoga, getting in the vibe. Hi, long-haired, skinny-eyed too.
Hi, sweetie.
Thank you, Maria. That's my little finger cuff. Before I made wands and other stuff, I actually used that for a while as like my wand. Yeah.
That is excellent.
Thank you.
He loves it.
So I do want to give you guys a little bit of my personal thoughts. I looked within from what I know of Lucifer, and I'm just going to put out there, I love him so much. I kind of searched myself why I think the death card is actually very appropriate for Lucifer. So not to be confused with like the church Satan. We're not talking about that guy. The god Lucifer is our true bringer of knowledge and wisdom so that we may be more like a god ourselves. He is the light bringer through liberation and illuminating our darkness and showing us how to thrive there, how to bring light to that which is dormant inside of us. The death card, I think, is very appropriate because when you begin to work with Lucifer, the dying begins of you and what you knew of the world. So in a way, and of magic, I want to add. So in a way, that old you dies and that phoenix on your path is reborn with a whole new world or path to explore with these entities and knowledge and wisdom and what they can teach or bring, right? So that is the essence of Lucifer or Inky and Samuel, or you must look amazing when you flip someone the finger. Do I?
Yes. Yes. It's definitely a good fashion accessory.
Why, thank you. So it will start to direct you into the dark of the unknown and bring to light what you must know. So with that being said, we can get into some more about Lucifer that I found online. I found a great site, which I completely agree with this person's work. But I wanted to read some of it to you because it resonated with me. So they agree that Lucifer is not the same as Satan, as most of us do agree to that. And he is not the cruel and deceptive being that many people have said he is. They simply don't understand his nature. But if you are brave and open-minded, you will find the true Lucifer, and you will be basked in his golden light. I agree. They, however, disagree that he's associated with fairies. However, in my practice, I tend to believe that he is. Now, his personality, overall, Lucifer is far too complex to describe, but he is basically very sophisticated, wise, strategic, intellectual, courageous, eloquent, confident, determined, and bluntly honest. He has an incredible mind, for it is deeply vast and full of unfathomable intelligence. Now, I find that to be very true, but he is just such a complex creature. But the more you work with him, I feel like the more you begin to understand his nature. And it is deeply rewarding working with this being. Lucifer deeply values courage, independence, open-mindedness, responsibility, and the desire to constantly improve oneself. He is the initiator towards illumination and is the very light that destroys ignorance. Without him, there is no progress towards truth and understanding in the world. So true, like facts, okay? He is the one who opens our minds to the true deceit and encourages us to rise up and fight those who oppress us. He is both a visionary and the outcast of society who ventures towards realms of thinking that many shun. Lucifer teaches that it is through the steepest path of strife that we can truly come to understand who we are and what it means to exist. Without struggle, we can never really truly develop strength or wisdom. From this illumination, the chains put upon us by society are finally released. And it goes on about his appearance. They describe him as being a gentleman in his late 30s with like shoulder-length black wavy hair, red eyes, fair skin, elegant features, pronounced cheekbones, black. Oh, wow, that kind of surprised me because same. I'll tell you the differences in the way he appears to me in a moment, though. Black horns and black feathered wings, sometimes draconic wings. And he does have armor and such with this person. So yeah, I would say roughly kind of the same. The hair, though, is long, but sometimes it can be white as well for me. The wings are always black feathered. Very pale, very elegant type features. So when they work with them, and I'm going to give you guys the source as well because I really like their work. It resonates with me. I can kind of compare my notes and see that this is gold. So his element, he is equally connected to all, but mainly associates with fire and air, which is what I have in my grimoire. Colors, black, red, silver, and emerald green. One of his ends or meditation, Rinish, Tasa, Ubraka, Vyasa, Ikar, Lucifer. Offerings, red wine, whiskey. I've never used champagne, but I guess that could work. It's listed here. Black tea, coffee, chocolate, cooked goat meat, apples, pomegranates, dark chocolate, good quality cigars, daggers, swords, silver rings, dark or clear crystals like obsidian, citrine, emeralds, and moonstone. Black feathers, goat horns, bones, seductive cologne, playing cards. And that reminds me, just so you know, which we're going to talk about this in a moment, Lucifer is also another great one for like certain types of sex, magic, and sexual energy. So keep that in mind. Snake figurines, his sigil, dragon silhouettes, and incenses, Eye of Horus, desert flower, Lord Buddha, and frankincense. I'm going to add myrrh in there for good measure. But I chose to read from that site, which is Scarlet Tarosa at tumblr.com. I kind of came across it in my research, and as I was reading it, I was like, wow, there isn't much that I have to write to prepare for tonight's video because a lot of what this person is saying while they worked with Lucifer resonates with me. So I just kind of wanted to read some of it and compare it. Have you watched the TV show Lucifer? Are there any similarities to your experiences in the way he behaves? I actually have not seen that. In my experience, he behaves I mean, he can be withdrawn at times. It's like so many personalities with this guy. I hate the link. Yes, I will post it for you guys. Give me one sec.
Would you say that he is beautiful from what you have seen?
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning creature. Yes, always beautiful. And what's interesting is I believe when you offerings, gold, silver, etc., to other beings, what do you do with them after? Throw them out. I'll bury it to return it to the earth. Consecrate the area I'm burying it. Like if you're offering that to a demonic entity, you could leave it on the altar or the altar you have for them, or make I have little like altar boxes, kind of like you would make a travel altar. And if they're dedicated to a spirit, but I'm not working with them at that time, offerings like that, I would put in that little box till whenever, and just kind of update it as I go along. But I have heard of others consecrating grounds and returning it to earth if they just simply cannot, for some reason, continue to have it in their house or on their altar. Excuse me, I don't know what's up with my voice. But yeah, kind of a smart ass. Kind of a
arrogant?
Little arrogant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he is like that on the show Lucifer.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, isn't that interesting? Now, these spirits, I think it very much depends on the practitioner, how they appear. But what's interesting to me is when I get correlations with other people that are viewing him kind of in the same manifestation, like this website, this lady that wrote this. I know him for myself to be with black wings, very black, almost like raven, almost blue tinged wings.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
And usually white long hair. She said black long hair for her, but it's white long hair for me. Very pale.
I think I've always imagined him with white wings myself, and like blonde or white hair, just because it says he is the light bringer. So I always think of like white when I think of, but that's just probably my own perception. You know what I mean? Like you said, whoever the practitioner is.
Right. And that very much will kind of help determine how they manifest to you, like in ritual and stuff. Not always, but in most cases.
Yeah, she says he always tells the truth. People just choose not to believe him.
Yeah, very, very much. He's also like, I don't want to say he's like as like raw as Beelzebub, but then again, he is. He's such a complex creature to describe, and I'm only now realizing this. There are so many ways and aspects to him, and they're kind of different almost every interaction I have. He can be quiet and withdrawn too, though, sometimes. That's something I've noticed too. It's kind of like he very much respects you to be seeking, always seeking for knowledge, the truth, to illuminate yourself. He can get kind of pissed if he knows your potential. He's working with you and you're not really like applying that seeking, for your own empowerment. So in my experience, that's, yeah. And I do feel like Lucifer, and for some reason, I always want to say Samal, but Samuel or Samael, I feel like they're the same being. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the story of Samuel and Lilith to lead into what you're going to share with us too, Rochelle.
Okay.
So let me just read a quick thing about who Samuel is, and then we'll read that story. and then we'll hear what Rochelle has to say about the angel and how this all can tie in. So, Samuel. Although many of his functions resemble the Christian notion of Satan, to the point of being sometimes identified as a fallen angel, but he is not necessarily evil, since his functions are also regarded as resulting in good, such as destroying sinners. So he is known to be the venom of God, the poison of God, or the left hand of God, and has reptilian-like hands. So I wanted to point that out. And then I was looking up correlations with Samuel and Lilith and the concept of evil in the early Kabbalah. And this is from Joseph Dan. So he says, the description of the divine world as a mythical struggle between good and evil is one of the basic symbols of the Kabbalah, and a detailed mythology based on it found in the Zohar late in the 13th century. The main source of the Zohar on this subject is a treatise by Rabbi Isaac HaKohen, hopefully I didn't butcher that, called On the Emanation on the Left. Sorry, I don't know that word. Written in Spain at the beginning of the second half of the 13th century, a generation before the Zohar. The problem studied here is, what were the sources of Rabbi Isaac's myth of evil? Rabbi Isaac described Samuel and Lilith as a pair, being the central powers on the left. It seems that the literary development which brought forth this formula began with the myth of Lilith as presented in the 10th century, and later revisions of that work were known in Europe in the 11th century and included a description of a sexual relationship between Lilith and a great demon, who was later identified as Samuel. Both Lilith and Samuel in these stories are not principles of evil. This transformation probably occurred only in the work of Rabbi Isaac. So what they're saying here is pretty much the duality that we see between these creatures in the Kabbalah. This guy kind of brought it in when really it was that gray area originally. When describing the levels of the spiritual world, Rabbi Isaac discussed a sphere he called third air, which is the source of both prophetic visions and the use of demons. This concept seems to be derived from the writings of Rabbi Judah, the pious, and Rabbi Eliezer of Worms. In their works, however, there are no dualistic or mythical elements. These are probably added by Rabbi Isaac. So he formulated the myth of evil worlds, which were destroyed before this world was created, a myth which became a central motive in the Kabbalah. So take with that information what you will, but we do know one side of the Kabbalah is feminine, the other's masculine usually, and then we have the left and the right hand, and then different associations. However, the true magic and knowledge of that is when they merge, right, Rochelle? And we start connecting those dots. So with that being said, I think I'll leave it open for you, Doll.
Okay. So what I found was actually kind of interesting. The angel that we're talking about today that's associated with death and these particular decks from Travis McHenry is Mumiah or Mumiah. Here, let me pull this up really quick. This is the actual seal out of this particular book, the 72 Angels of Magic. And that's how you pronounce it. Mumiah. Mumiah. So out of this particular book, let me stop for a second, which is the Book of Angels. It says Dream Signs Meditations. This is a traditional study of angels, the hidden secrets. This was kind of interesting because, let me show you another image here. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so this is an image of the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. According to this particular deck, we're seeing it represented as death. And that would be Tipperoth, or Tipperoth, however you pronounce it, which is 6 to 7, which is Netzach. And that actually means Tippoth is actually represented as beauty, which is consciousness, balance, integration, connecting divine and the physical. And then it journeys to Netzach, which is victory, strength, determination, and concentration. However, in the book that I am reading, it actually associates it with Yesod, which is this one right here. And this one actually said, rebirth, sows the seed of new life, understanding the laws of reincarnation, announces the end of one cycle and the beginning of a new one, brings to an end, helps terminate what has been started, concrete realizations and materialization, concerns medicine and health, which all correlates with the death card, right? And rebirth and transformation. Terminal phase, in which the seed of renewal is found, accompanying the dying, great experiences of life, and opening of consciousness. So when I actually, and if you are born between March 16th to March 20th, this is your physical guardian angel. This is your emotional guardian angel. If you are born June 2nd, August 16th, October 29th, January 8th, or March 20th. And this is your intellectual guardian angel if you were born between the hours of 11:40 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. Now it says the residency is in Yesod. Here's where I found this really, really interesting. So according to the Jewish, let me just take this off of here. According to the Jewish Kabbalah, Yesod is the foundation upon which God has built the world. It also serves as a transmitter between the Sephirah above and the reality below. The light of the upper Sephiroth gather in Yesod and are channeled to Malkuth below, which Malkuth is earth. Yesod channels, Malkuth receives. In turn, it is through Malkuth that the earth is able to interact with the divinity. Mm-hmm. Yesod plays the role of collecting and balancing the different and opposing energies of Had and Netzach, which you'll see, I'm pointing to it on my screen, but you'll see the red and then the green, 8 and 7, just above Yesod. So your Had is like your intellectual stuff, your thoughts, and your Netzach, or however you pronounce it, is like the actual emotions and stuff. So like if you're doing ritual, your Had is like all of the ritual stuff that you plan ahead of time, like your intentions and your thoughts and all that. And then the 7 or the Netzach is like the emotion, where Yesod, like you were just talking, in the middle is where you bring it all together. And it's those two things that help bring it down into Malkuth, which is manifestation, which is earth, on the earthly realm. Mm-hmm. It says, Yesod plays the role of collecting and balancing the different and opposing energies of Had and Netzach, and also from Tipperoth above it, storing and distributing it throughout the world. It is likening to the engine room of creation. The cherubim in the angelic choir connected to Yesod are headed by the archangel Gabriel. And now when we were looking at Gabriel from the week before, I had made mention that they showed that Gabriel was connected to Lucifer.
Mm.
And it says, in contrast, the demonic order in the Clephototic, I'm not sure about that word, sphere, which is opposite of Yesod, which would be the other tree that we were talking about, is actually is Gamaliel or something like that, which is ruled by the archdemon or archdemon Lilith.
Yes.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yes, and something I want to say about when you add that image up, what I love about that is...
You want me to pull it back up?
Sure. It can be. I want you guys to take a decent look at this. The interesting thing about the Kabbalah in this specific image is it has so much corresponding to it, including angels, demons, whatever you want. But as you work each pathway, notice how connected they are to each other. You open up one or travel through one, look how many open doors or open pathways that leads you to explore just by making one move. That is what it's like working with Lucifer and these entities. You work with one, it opens up those pathways to obtaining this knowledge. So I highly do suggest, looking into that if it's interesting.
Now, from this book, let me just read a few things, because this is the actual last out of the 72 angels. This is the last one. This is the 72nd angel, Mumiah or Mumiah. And it says to see a project through to completion. These are the powers that Mumiah has. It is easy to start a project, but difficult to see it through to the end. Whether you're seeking love, working on your art, or trying to buy a house, a task can often feel so overwhelming that you want to give it up. If you are certain that the project will benefit you, calling on this angel will help you to see the project through to completion and may even speed up the process. Now, this also, I found this very interesting, protection when doing magic. The magic in this book is safe, but if you are ever tempted to work with demons, servitors, random spells, or other techniques, you can call on this angel to protect you while you experiment, is what it says. So this angel can protect you from whatever else, according to this book that you're working on. It says to expand pleasure, which you said that Lucifer with also sexual stuff, right?
Yeah. He fathered, according to mythology, he fathered the incubi and succubi with Lilith.
Oh, okay.
And I did do a video, guys. Go check it out if you haven't by now. But my sex magic with Lucifer, where I actually invoked the essence of him into my partner. And I invoked Lilith's. And it was interesting. Check it out.
Boom, shaka, laka, laka, boom.
Intense.
Baby. So it says to expand pleasure through sharing. When you share any magic or any pleasure, you will find that your pleasure and gratitude increases. By calling on this angel, you will ensure that anytime that you share your love, enjoyment, humor, wealth, or magical power, that you are rewarded many times over, which is nice. And the invocation for this particular angel, you can find in Psalms 131, chapter 3. And it's called, or the way that it sounds is Yachal Yisrael Leaoa Me'ata Ve'and Alam. That's how it sounds.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And oops. That's where it does show, and the other one that is Tipperoth to Netzach, and is represented by Scorpio as well. And again, that is the seal. Okay. So that's everything I have on, well, I will tell you this. If you do the Tipperoth, like I said, meant like beauty and stuff like that. It does say that the correspondence to Tipperoth is the sun. And Raphael is the archangel for that particular sphere, which is 6. And that the demonic version of that would be Thagirian or Thagarine, ruled by Archdemon Belphegor.
Oh.
And the symbol associated with this sphere is a majestic king. And then Netzach, it says with this particular Sephira, Netzach sits geometrically across from Had. This pairing makes up the third such group, the tactical Sephiroth, meaning that their purpose is not inherent in themselves, but rather as a means for something else, which I talked about. That's your intention, and then your like emotion together, mixed together, move to Yesod, and then move down into Malkuth, which has to do with manifestation or coming into life, which could also mean like your Merkaba or Merkaba, right?
Merkaba.
Yeah. It does say that these Sephiroth mark a turning point, whereas the first two groups of Sephiroth deal with God's intrinsic will and what it is that he desires to bestow upon man. These Sephiroth are focused on man. What is the most appropriate way for man to achieve God's messages? So this helps you to attain like ascension or higher levels of communication with the divine. How can God's will be implemented most effectively? This particular, the angelic order of Netzach is the Elohim, the ruling archangel of which is Haniel. And there you go, guys. Now that's everything I got.
So he's not the most patient. You know what? It depends on what it is. There's a lot that he is actually patient with, but there are other things that are less tolerable to him. He's basically saying, hey, I have the knowledge here, guys. I got the wisdom. I got truth here for you, and it'll make you really powerful. Or you can be a slave to, programming. And I think in his shoes, it would be kind of frustrating to see people like imprisoned in this like type of matrix, and you are giving them the keys for them to utilize breaking out of that. Right. So I think it's very much more tempered if he's giving you what you need to apply yourself to that, but you're not applying it, especially if you start the work with him. Like if you invoke him, you summon him up, you say you want to work with him, but you are not pushing for that wisdom, that enlightenment, he's gonna probably show his ass a little bit.
So there is something that I wanted to talk about. Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about this behind the scenes kind of thing, about who we believe Lucifer is also connected with, or which could be like Enlil or Enki, which I believe Enki.
Yep.
Yeah. So have you heard anything in any of your workings with him to lean you in that direction?
Recently.
Or about bloodlines?
Yes, recently. I've been getting a lot of messages referring to like ancient Mesopotamia and like those type of deities, and like what is our true origin story. I need to find it through these illusions they give us. So it's something I'm still working on to adapt, but I highly do feel like Enki would be one of the earliest forms of Lucifer, or that archetype at least. And bloodlines, yes. So I've been getting powerful messages about bloodlines and our lineages dating back to, if you view them as a certain type of race or higher dimensional being. I've been getting a lot of messages about possible descendants of people of this race and it being encoded or embedded in their DNA. Pretty much we all have that little piece of that DNA from these entities. It's just kind of dormant until you work through these things, and then it activates and it changes you alchemically, in your DNA, in your body, in your mind, your spirit, physically as well. I know I said in your body, but yeah, so it's really, really interesting.
Now, you also talked about Lucifer, you feel is connected with the Fae. Why do you think that is? What makes you believe that?
Well, because if I look at them as I view them, a higher dimensional being, we know that these otherworldly supernatural entities are blanketed and crammed into little labels or boxes. And I know there's associations with the fallen ones being Fae. I feel like the Fae is a broad term, again, for another race that is possibly related to them, just lesser beings than what they would be considered as far as advancement or intelligence goes.
Now, see, for me, one of the reasons I think
And the light.
Right, yeah. One of the reasons I kind of believe that is because, and not just Lucifer, but demons in general.
Yes.
Is because if you follow like history from like Sumeria and Assyria and Babylonia, and then over to maybe Armenia or Armenia at the same time, because a lot of their stuff astrologically they're showing just as old as, the ancient Sumerians. Right. But if you follow a lot of that stuff, it kind of leads over into, from what I've seen, over into like Ireland, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And this war, I did a video on this actually months ago about how the Sumerians kind of led over to like the Fae and what I believe that those were. But also you think about like legends about them being in the underworld, right? What is the underworld? If you think about it, the inner earth, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we just did something. We just talked about something in our group about like this map that we seen that showed all these different portals, all this stuff, inner earth societies and stuff like that. I definitely think that they're connected. Why would they change it in the Bible? Because that is like a religion that wants to not let you liberate yourself so that you continue to follow, right?
Right. And live in fear and be told that you are not powerful, that you're nothing. In fact, you're a dirty sinner. So you got to repent your whole life, or you're going to burn for eternity. That's cruel. That's so cruel. And then you have Lucifer over here, which I do believe is inky, and all those correlations and connections you made. Yes, that runs parallel in what I believe. Most definitely. And then you get even further into it. And what's with all the reptile-like skin or depictions, or even reptile draconian-like wings, which reminds me of ancient Mesopotamian art.
Yeah.
So it's like in our findings, I'm almost certain that these are who they are.
Sinners are winners.
Oh my God. Love that.
Well, I mean, there's even legends that talk about actual people that their names were sin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
and some of these, like when we have like flood stories and stuff, in order to save them, they went into the inner earth. there's legends from different places around the world that their earliest people that would come in and teach them stuff about the stars and teach them stuff about agriculture and stuff like that were either coming from down below or from up above. So either starmen or inner earth beings.
The Maya talked about inner earth beings that lived with brimstone. That taught them a lot. The Shi, for example, taught ancient druids druidism, which is still a quite secret. We don't know too much in depth about what actual druidism is, do we? Like ancient druidism. So take from that what you will. Why do people think that the pentagram is evil? Because it is pure ignorance. They don't care to research it. They don't care to look into it.
Because it is a push agenda.
That too. A program. Yes. From the time we are born, this matrix is programmed to make you believe these things. And even families that are not highly religious, how many of you have still heard families following these traditions that were practiced from Christianity or learnt or passed down through Christianity? Like my family wasn't like my parents weren't religious. They didn't go to church, but they still held values that were like traditional Christians. So we're programmed from the start to believe these things. And it's all about seeing through those illusions of this realm and finding out what we are truly capable of, what we really are. And there's something called echoes. What's the Hispanic? Oh, the Hispanic ancestors. Probably possessed. You know, I dig that name, by the way. Like, I'm like saying.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, there's days I had to take my painting here down, the sigil I created of like Belial and Beelzebub and other things, because if I hang it up, it's like their energies course with me and my attitude will be switching up like it's crazy. But I hear that the pentagram represents the 5 elements. Yeah, but I mean, it probably depends on what path you're on too. But yeah, I mean, typically,
I think it also represents the head, the 2 arms, and the 2 legs.
The occult body. Yeah. Yep. There is so much. That's just like taking, for example, the Kabbalah. You know how many books are written using that as a map of various things? Chakras, demonic path workings, angel path workings, jinn. I've seen, did I say chakras?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, people are using these things and they're adapting ways, theories, different things, and utilizing them for so much now that it's really a bit difficult to pinpoint exact, you know, but no problem.
Ekikos?
Oh, Ekikos.
Was it the Lakota that believed that some of their people at the time of the flood or during a great cataclysm, that they had people from, and I believe that they were like ant-like, had come and helped the people, took them down into like cities and stuff down below in order to help them to live through the cataclysms or the great flood, whatever it was, and then reemerged like whenever it was habitable again. There's legends of that. Everywhere. And I believe it's the Hopi that have the starmen that came down
in the deserts and stuff. Yeah. The Mohawk creation story, the first lady fell down from the sky onto the back of a turtle in water, and she cast a circle and kept forming that circle to form the lands of the earth. Like long story, crumbed up short. But you can take the symbology though, and yeah. Why do people think the Baphomet is evil? again, they don't know what the Baphomet represents or means. And what's a difference between a demon and a spirit? Like a spirit of the dead in the demon? Power, intelligence, hierarchy, evolution. Alrighty. Well, yes. I love you guys, and wow, we actually did good timing on this week's, huh?
Yes. Especially with it being Lucifer.
I know. I could have went on and on, but I do want to start doing videos like individually of them too. I did promise so much that I actually have to be making and putting out, because I've kept so much of it to myself. So I do want to start releasing, like, because I've grown so much from when I first started. But I love you guys, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about a Lamash 2 Lilith evocation and petitioning, like to work with an incubi or succubi. Cool stuff, maybe little experiences. So join me.
We need to draw.
Oh yeah, we do need to draw for next week.
We are so bad at that.
We are, and where's my deck? Somewhere in all of my things.
That's not it.
All right. Oops. Let me take off.
Who are we going to get?
I'll keep Lucifer out.
Excellent.
Probably possessed.
Baphomet. Oh, well, there we go.
So come next week. I'll tell you all about it.
Which one is that, honey?
Oh, Deviant Art account. Really? You know what? I love that.
What card is that, honey?
Oh, sorry. That was the
is that
Magician.
Oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
I got Baphomet on my altar. Yep. Someone told me that somebody bound these cards, and they're like, so what would you do if they were bound, by angels and stuff? Anyone know if that's true? I don't know. I need to research. But
say that again. If what?
They said that this particular tarot deck, that it was constricted, like bound. They bound the demons and the cards with angels. And they're like, so what do I do? I'm like, well, I got to look that up, but it works fine for me. Like I said, belief too, well, it's probably just something they were spewing to like sell it. So it's like, yeah, exactly. Deviant Art, though. I know some of that work. It's beautiful. Mayhem, Mr. Pickle 666. Love it.
Nathia.
Okay.
The generous God.
As Baphomet is as well, yeah.
Interesting. So next week's going to be interesting. Like it always is.
All right.
Yeah. She said he's probably on social media, so just ask him, Travis McHenry. Yep.
I may. I mean, I don't think it matters for me. I'm going to do what I want to do with them regardless. But.
All right.
Well, thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.